fine.
We'll call this meeting to order. We get a roll call, please.
Here, John McClellan.
Here.
Carl. Eric Diet.
Here.
Howard. Paul McKitka.
Here.
Greg Feldman is excused. Daniel Nicholas. Trevor Martin. Bob Williams. Excused. Bob Sport.
Here.
Bill Navarro. Mark Woods.
Here.
Paul Martell. Karen Pittman. Wayne Josephi.
Here.
Bobby Ball.
Here.
Jim Pakulski.
Here.
Jeff Fink. Ziva Prasad.
Here.
Omar Atala. Ian. Richard Sirens. Oppenal.
Here.
We have one.
For the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we do have a few people online. Does anyone like to make a motion that we allow public or participation and voting online?
Yeah, motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, great. Thank you. We will open up for public comments. Looks like we have one member of the public. Would anyone like to speak from the public? Oh, all right.
So Boss Sharp speaks for itself.
Love it.
Trails the trails.
Perfect. Thank you. All right, then we will move on to action items. Action item 3A, review and approval of the June 16, 2026 CAC meeting minutes. Anybody have any comments or corrections for the June 16th minutes?
I make a motion, we approve. I'll second that.
All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Right, passes unanimous. We will move on to 3B. Colleen, this is review and recommend approval of resolution 2026, number to be assigned, amending the 2026-27 to 2030-31 transportation improvement program to incorporate the roll forward project report.
Yes, thank you. So this is a activity action that we do every year after the adoption of our new tip. You may recall we did adopt the tip in June, and that's for fiscal year 27 through 31. When we were developing that tip, there were projects that were in fiscal year 26 of our prior tip that at the time of development, they had not moved into fiscal year 27, but once DOT does all of their closeout, they realize there are some projects that need to what they call roll forward into fiscal year 27. They automatically roll forward in the DOT work program, but we have to do a physical amendment to put those projects back into the tip. So these are projects that were in our prior tip in fiscal year 26, but we need to move them to fiscal year 27, and we have to do that through a formal adoption. We do receive a report printout from DOT, which was provided in your agenda packet as a link. But then we also go ahead and provide a more friendlier summary of the projects and the amounts that are rolling forward, the different phases, and the different fund codes for those. So if there's any questions or comments about the roll forward report or about the process, I'd be happy to address those. Otherwise, we'd be looking for a recommendation for approval.
Anyone have any questions for Colleen? Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. I guess
It's a roll call.
it is.
I'm sorry.
Yep, go ahead.
I do have one question. So at the right thing, attachment A.
Yes.
Yeah. So the MOA with Port Orange. I know that's not my area, but it seems like that's a maintenance of a particular roadway.
The state has maintenance agreements with every city
Right.
within our jurisdiction.
Okay.
So for some reason, that particular contract needs to carry forward.
Okay.
There are new contracts that were part of, or new projects already in our fiscal year 27. So this is just either there was money left over or just an old number that they need to carry forward before they close out.
Okay, that's fine. That's kind of, I was asking because I'm curious as to whether or not there is an MOA, I guess, with FDOT or unincorporated portions of Volusia County, specifically A1A portions that are in unincorporated Volusia County.
The department does have an MOA with the county. What it specifically covers is not specific to just being A1A, but it's a general agreement with the county for maintenance for different areas.
So maintaining right of way that is FDOT's within Volusia County, it's not within a town, is under an MOA with Volusia County Maintenance Forces. Is that,
It depends on the jurisdiction of the roadway as well. So DOT would only have an agreement with the municipalities on state roads.
right? So,
A lot of times, I don't know, Chuck, if you have additional information, but a lot of times these are for, traffic signal, maintenance of traffic signals, maintenance of landscaping
right,
and so forth. But it's not for all of the roads within unincorporated because there's a number of roadways that are the jurisdiction of the county
Yes.
that would not fall under that.
right. I'm specifically referring to A1A, which I'm assuming is, I know is FDOT's. So.
A1A is a state road, yes.
So FDOT does have an MOA with someone for maintenance.
It depends on what type of maintenance,
Okay.
because you have resurfacing, DOT has their own resurfacing program. A lot of these, and I'd have to go and pull the contracts, which we can do if there's a specific one you're interested in. But a lot of these pertain to the maintenance of landscaping within roadways or the maintenance of the traffic signal.
And that's what I'm primarily concerned with is landscaping of roadways, specifically A1A, specifically unincorporated Volusia County. With all the construction that's going on, they're adding landscaping that wasn't present before.
Correct.
Okay, so as a result, I'm interested to find out more about what specifically is in place or coming forward or.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I'll work with Chuck to get that information. What is specifically within those MOAs for the different jurisdictions on the state
Each one-
roads?
Yes, exactly. I mean, each one is different. I
Of
mean,
course, and I understand that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So whatever specific area, yeah, I'll see what I can find out.
Okay,
No problem.
thank you. Sorry to
All good.
diverge.
Any other questions? Comments? The only thing I had is, this feels like a long list. Is this a normal amount of list? There's a lot more than usual that roll over.
There were a few more projects. I think last year we had, I want to say like 5 or 6 pages total.
Okay.
And it just depends. So it's fairly normal for projects that move over. And most of these projects are, if you look at the responsible agency in the third column, are DOT projects that are rolling forward. There's a few that are our local member governments that are rolling forward for various reasons, but we don't really have control over, the state-run projects and the state-managed projects. So those are rolling forward, so they can continue the work they need to do. Some of them are projects, as you see the funding amounts, some of them are really small. It's just those projects aren't necessarily closed out yet. They may be complete or seen complete from the user's level, but there's usually sometimes something behind the scenes that DOT has not closed out yet. So they need that project just to remain open. Some of the projects that came through from our local governments, they're either projects that needed to carry forward because the project sponsor was still working with the department on cost estimates, and then actually the bids coming through and making sure that those happen. Sometimes when those are pushed toward the end of the year, they're not able to become encumbered before we need to roll into the next year.
Anyone else? We have a motion and a second. This requires a roll call. Let's call roll.
Yes.
Aaron Dayet. Paul McKitka,
Yes.
Bob Stork,
Yes.
Mark Woods,
Yes.
Wade Joe Spy,
Yes.
Ronnie Ball,
Yes.
Pam Phillips,
Yes.
Jeff Zink,
Yes.
Siva Prasad,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Move on to item 3C. Review and recommend approval of resolution 2026, number to be assigned, amending the fiscal year 26-27 to 27-28 Unified Planning Work Program. Colleen?
Yes, thank you. So this is an action to add an activity into our UPWP, which we just adopted last spring and went into effect July 1. So this activity is specific to our transit task, and it's to provide funding and planning support for Volusia County's or VOTRAN's major update to the Transit Development Plan and Transportation Disadvantaged Service Plan. We had currently budgeted funds in our UPWP, but we neglected to actually list the activity as a deliverable within our UPWP in order for VOTRAN to receive those funds from FTA and for us to contribute some of our funding to help offset the cost. It has to actually be listed as an activity. And again, this was an oversight on our part from listing the activity. We did already budget the funds. Our board at their June meeting authorized the expenditure for the TPO to assist with those funds. So this is just kind of making sure everything's clean so that we can provide the funds to VOTRAN and they can also receive the funds that they need through FTA. If there's any questions or comments, I'd be happy to address or answer those.
Any questions? Anyone would like to present a motion to approve?
Second.
Any other questions or comments? All right, this one also requires a roll call. Please call roll.
John McFarlane,
Yes.
Aaron Dayet,
Yes.
Paul McKitka,
Yes.
Davina, Bob Stork,
Yes.
Mark Woods,
Yes.
Spy,
Yes.
Ronnie Ball,
Yes.
Pam Phillips, Jeff Zink,
Yes.
Siva Prasad,
Yes.
motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. Move on to presentations. Item 4A, TPO 101, plans, programs, and member responsibilities. Colleen, back to you.
Yes, thank you. So every couple of years, we like to give a presentation on the TPO. I know we have a number of new members that have come in since we've given this presentation before. Also updated for anything new that's coming up or new requirements. But just what is the TPO? What is our role in the transportation planning process? What is your role as a committee member, serving on the CAC? And then also, we're this is our starting our new UPWP. We have a number of new work activities that we're going to be undertaking. And at the end, we just kind of highlight upcoming activities or what's upcoming and new. So the role of the Volusia-Flagler TPO. So we are required by federal and state law to exist as an agency in order for federal and state funds to be spent on transportation infrastructure within our 2-county area. And so the role of the TPO really is to set the local priorities for those expenditures. So we work with the TPO board, our citizens committees, we have a technical committee. We receive input from private citizens, local stakeholders, and what's called the 3C process. And so it's based on the continuing cooperative and comprehensive planning process. But again, we provide that local input in the prioritization of these projects that utilize the state or federal funds. And we do that every year through the adoption of our list of priority projects that we update every year based on our call for projects. But then every 5 years, there's a larger update through our long-range transportation plan, which we just updated and adopted last September. So that's the role of the TPO. For those of you that are interested, we are bound by, I mentioned, both federal and state law. So in federal law, this really is what sets aside the authority and responsibility for TPOs or MPOs across the state. You may hear MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization. It's interchangeable with TPO, Transportation Planning Organization. So if you see those, that acronym, we're one and the same. There are 27 TPOs or MPOs across the state of Florida, each representing different urbanized areas. So if there's an urbanized area with a population of greater than 50,000 persons, there has to have an agency like ours to, again, expend those federal or state dollars. A little bit further in terms of the urbanized population, if you have an urbanized area with a population of greater than 200,000 people, then you're considered a transportation management area. So you're eligible for additional federal funds, but then there's also additional federal regulations that you must follow. We are considered a TMA. We actually have 2 urbanized areas with a population of greater than 200,000. And again, these are urbanized areas as defined by the census. So every 10 years, once the census is completed, we look at our urban areas. After the last census, we have an urban area that runs along the coast. So all the way from Oak Hill up into and through Marineland. That's one urban area. And then we also have another urban area that represents West Volusia. So it's the Deltona, DeBerry, DeLand, Orange City, Lake Helen area. That urban area after the last census did exceed that 200,000 population. So now we have two urbanized areas that are considered TMAs. So that just brought additional funds into the TPO, additional, and you may hear us refer to the SU funds. Those are the Surface Transportation Block Grant funds. Those are the funds allocated to the TPO that we have discretion over. And we utilize those funds to help fund projects that come in for the call for projects. But because we had that second urbanized area that exceeded that threshold, we did receive additional SU funds specific for the population in that area. And then for state law, so we do also look at state law and the statute. And so the statute actually establishes our memberships and our required advisory committees. The governor does approve our plan. It establishes the responsibility and authority and our required work products, but there's the state law or the state statute. For some people like to read that at night. They have a hard time falling asleep, but we are bound by both federal and state law. And a lot of people ask, how is the TPO funded? So we are predominantly funded through federal funds, and these federal funds are available through the Federal Highway Trust Fund. But they're allocated to us through the State Department of Transportation. And currently, we are operating under the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act. That's the transportation bill. It was signed into law back in November of 2021, but it does expire next month. So there currently a proposed reauthorization bill. It's called the Build America 250 Act. So that is the reauthorization bill for surface transportation. And that would cover fiscal year 27 through 31. So we're currently watching that legislation. And once, that gets signed into law, much like with the IIJA, we'll come back and make a presentation on what are the impacts of that to the TPO. The IIJA had a lot of additional funding, discretionary funding opportunities for local governments. So with the new act, once that is signed into law, we'll also come back and give a presentation as well. That's where the Safe Streets and Roads for All grants and some of the other grant programs. I know that the TPO received grant through City of DeBerry has. Currently Deltona as well as Orange City are applying for planning grants through that, as well as I believe Bunnell and Flagler County implementation grants through that program. So it'll be interesting to see what becomes available through the Build America 250 Act. So that is primary our funding, and this is funding for the TPO for operations. We also do receive a small portion of our funds are state funds. And these are funds that come from the Commission for the Transportation Disadvantage. And it supports our Transportation Disadvantage Local Coordinating Board. So we work closely with VOTRAN on that program and provide staff support for there. But that's approximately, it's a very small percentage of our budget, but it helps fund the planning and the work activities that we do through that effort. And then also our local assessments. We do collect 10 cents per capita from all of our member governments. And this helps fund activities or operational activities at the TPO that do not qualify for federal funds. So we do have some activities. And sometimes it's stuff that you wouldn't think, such as our helmet fitting program. If we were to purchase helmets, we have to purchase those with local funds. We do have grants, and we're able to get some of those through the Helmet Resource Center.
Head Bike Resource.
Head Bike Resource Center. Because we have staff, we do have members on staff who have been trained as certified helmet fitters. So we do qualify for that program, but sometimes we do a number of events. So sometimes we need to supplement that with purchasing some additional helmets. So a lot of our outreach activities are not eligible for federal reimbursement. So we do supplement that with our local assessments. But again, it's to help support parts of our program that aren't eligible for grant reimbursement. For the TPO, the structure of the TPO, so we do have a governing board, and our governing board is made up of an elected official from every city within our 2-county area, as well as from the counties themselves. And so those are appointed by each jurisdiction. And then under the governing board, we have a number of advisory committees that make recommendations. We do have an executive committee, and so that's a 7-member subset of our governing board. They meet separately once a month to talk a little bit more in depth on issues that come before the TPO or certain changes. They do have limited ability with budgets, and sometimes the governing board will elect to have the executive committee make some decisions on certain items. And a good example of that was when we were relocating to this space, there were a number of decisions that needed to be made with regard to the lease negotiation, with regard to the build out of the space. And the full board delegated that authority to the executive committee. So it just makes it easier on certain items like that to work with a smaller subset of the board, but ultimately still reporting back to the board. We also have our technical coordinating committee. So they're made up of technical staff members from all of the local governments. They meet immediately following this meeting and also review and see the same agenda. Of course, we have our Citizens Advisory Committee, which is an appointment of citizens representing each jurisdiction within our planning area. We also have another citizens committee, the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, and they take up specific issues regarding bicycle and pedestrian. But they meet separately. They actually meet on the second Wednesday of every month. And then I mentioned the Transportation Disadvantaged Local Coordinating Board. So this is a board, actually the membership of this board is governed by statute. But it is made up of users of the system as well as other agencies that support users of the system. So the core documents, and you'll see these, and you have probably seen these come before you on different, most of what we do here at the TPO is very cyclical. We have an annual cycle, a 2-year cycle, and a 5-year cycle. So you'll see these come around at different times, either for the full development and adoption or an amendment of these programs. But everything that we do here at the TPO is rooted in our long-range transportation plan. So that plan not only identifies the projects that we have prioritized, whether they're the large capacity style projects or the projects that we prioritize through set-aside funding, through our bike ped. But everything that we do is rooted in the long-range transportation plan. And so that is a plan that we update every 5 years. Our most recent update was adopted in September of 2025. So we're good for another 5 years, but we'll start probably looking at developing our next plan in about 3 years from now. The Transportation Improvement Program, and that's what we just amended earlier in the meeting with the Roll Forward projects. So that's a 5-year look at program funds. So these are projects that have funding identified and committed to them within the next 5 years. And it's not just projects that come through the TPO, but it includes all projects that utilize federal or state funds. So it could be an aviation project, it could be a landscape project, it could be a resurfacing project. And again, those are funds that aren't dictated or controlled by the TPO, but because they utilize federal or state funds, we are required to list them in our TIP. So it's a 5-year document, but we update it annually. So it's really kind of a rolling document. So each year we drop the year that's ending and we add the next 5th year. Concurrent with that, we develop our list of priority projects and update that every year as well. And again, this is where I talked about, we set local priorities for the expenditure of federal and state funds. And this is where we list those projects in our list of priority projects. So we have the large capacity style projects on SIS systems or state roadways, also local roadways. These projects come directly out of our long-range transportation plan. And then we have our set-aside funding that we're able to use. This is the SU funding that we receive based on population of our urbanized area. And this is funding where the TPO has discretion. So we have a policy set up where we spend 30% of those funds as a pass-through, direct pass-through to transit. We have 30% of those funds go to our bike ped program and 40% of those funds go to our traffic operations program. And so those are policies that the TPO has set up. So when we receive or open our annual call for projects, that's what helps populate those lists. We also have our Unified Planning Work Program. So this is the 2-year work plan of the TPO. So it identifies how we will be spending our projects, which deliverables, planning studies moving forward. This is not specific to local governments, roadway or construction projects, but this is the TPO planning documents and the planning work that we're going to do. So it's a 2-year document. We just adopted it last spring. It went into effect July 1. So that's what we're working through now. And that's what we just amended. Recommendation for amendment was to add that transit project. And then we have our public participation plan. So this is how the TPO incorporates the public into the planning process. So we update this. We review it every year and then update it as necessary. So we actually are going to be coming back later this year with an update to our PPP. So you'll see that over the next couple of months. And then who do we work with? A lot of people ask, you got local cities that do their thing, you got state governments that do their thing. But from kind of a holistic approach, we kind of incorporate all of those agencies. So not just state agencies and local agencies, but we also work with the special interest groups and, federal agencies, our transit operators. All of them come together to help set the priorities and to help shape that transportation infrastructure from a regional perspective within our 2-county area. So when we look at projects, so a lot of that dealt with kind of the operational side of the TPO and how we work with other local governments. A lot of people ask us about, why do projects take so long? So when you look at the life cycle of the project, if you start from planning all the way to the construction phase, you can see in there, you're talking about at least probably 10 years, sometimes longer. And a lot of that has to do with just coordination, when funding is available, coordinating with other local governments, identify projects that, are priorities now that may be in the planning phase, but we're also working on our priorities from the construction phase. So trying to balance, moving those projects forward. But we have, and not every project, has every single phase here, but most of the larger ones, especially the large capacity ones do. So that's why a lot of times it takes a while for projects to move forward, because of the process. And then I just want to end with some upcoming activities that we have. Again, this is implementing our new UPWP. We do have a number of planning studies within our UPWP that we will be undertaking, specifically within the first fiscal year of a UPWP, and then we have some others that we've identified to occur in the second year. But we do feasibility studies. So during our call for projects, we receive applications from local governments for studies to determine feasibility of projects, help identify cost estimates, so those projects can then move into the implementation stage. And this is something where we've set aside some of our SU funds every year to be able to complete these feasibility studies. In recent years, we've also supplemented that with some of our PL funding, just so we can get some of these studies completed. An update to the TIA, or traffic impact analysis guidelines. So many years ago, the TPO came up with unified guidelines that each municipality within both Volusia and Flagler County could follow when they're analyzing the impacts of development on their road network. So these guidelines, it's been a while since they've been updated. And so we've had a request from some of our local governments to go back in and do an update or a refresh of the TIA guidelines. So that's something that we want to accomplish within the first fiscal year of our UPWP. But there's, new requirements. There's technology that has come about that wasn't addressed in our previous guidelines. There's transit impacts that, could be strengthened within our guidelines. So there's different areas that we just need to do a refresh. It's been about 10 years since those previous guidelines were adopted. When we were working on developing our UPWP, there was a lot of discussion in every committee as well as at the board level regarding an e-bike study. And so what exactly that would look like, we're still working on flushing that out. We would be bringing a scope back before our board to get review and input. But the most recent discussions is they would also like to see an education component of that study as well. So that's something that'll come back within this first fiscal year of our UPWP. So you'll see presentations on that as well. We're continuing to fund the Bike Walk Central Florida programs. So that's the Best Foot Forward program. In recent years, we funded the expansion of that program into Flagler County. DOT had funded the program in Volusia County for 3 years. They are now kind of stepping back from that funding in Volusia County. So they're only funding a portion of it. So we're going to pick up the balance in Volusia County and continue funding that program in Flagler County as well. Did mention the Volusia Transit Services updates to the TDP and TDSP. So that's where we'll provide funding support as well as planning support to them as well. And an update to our congestion management and our performance measures report. Typically we do that either in the year we adopt our long range plan or immediately after. So that's an activity that we'll undertake in the first year. So those are some of the planning deliverables. We do have a number of administrative documents and updates to the TPO website, but updates to some of our administrative documents that again have been around for about 10, 12 years. So that's the employee handbook, our purchasing manual, our bylaws need to be updated. So we'll be looking at doing those as well. This is the time of year where we work with DOT on their next work program developments, and which will ultimately feed into the TIP that we develop next spring. Every year we have a FDOT TPO joint certification. And this year, every 4 years, because we are that TMA MPO, we have to have a federal certification. So that'll occur next year, next spring. So those are some of the upcoming activities that we'll be working on. A lot of these you'll see coming back as presentation and ultimately action items for recommendation. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. But if there's any questions and comments about what we do here at the TPO, what your role is on the CAC, I'd be happy to.
Yes, I have two questions. Can you go back to the slide that talked about the new legislation? Yeah, so the Build America 250 Act, just curious, I guess, whether or not Volusia-Flagler TPO is comfortable with the language that's in it. Do you feel like Volusia-Flagler TPO is getting shortchanged in any way? I'm just curious in general how you feel about it.
So the language in that act is more specific to MPOs and TPOs as a whole. So it's not, and it's for the entire US. So it's regulations or opportunities for MPOs or TPOs. And there's a lot of national organizations that have been analyzing the bill and providing feedback from the MPO or TPO perspective. We are members of those agencies or organizations, so we're following that, the legislation and the bill. But there are opportunities, and there's also some changing. So the IIJA brought a lot of funds in for discretionary grants. So there'll be some changes to that. But again, until it kind of goes through and is, signed into law, there's some areas, but I think from a general perspective, I think the biggest impact to MPO or TPO is happening to a non-TMA MPO or TPO, and that's not us. So those are the smaller MPOs that cover urban areas that are less than 200,000, and it really has to deal with how they can spend funds with their entire TPO boundary, but that's not applying to us because of the population that we have.
All right, and my second and last question is on the next slide. Oh, yeah, the executive committee and the technical coordinating committee. The members of both those committees are from municipalities within the two counties, or are they? Who are they?
So
Tell me again who they are.
No worries.
Sorry.
So the executive committee is a subset of our board. So it's members that serve on the TPO board, so they're elected officials. And that membership is made up by our chair, vice chair, immediate past chair, and we have a first vice chair and a second vice chair. So our 4 officers. And then there's 3 other members that are board members that are appointed by the chair. So those are elected officials that serve on the TPO board.
So we get to vote on those people?
No.
No, but they're somehow elected. How are they elected then?
Well, they're elected officials. Well, it depends if you live in the city that they represent. They're elected officials. So our TPO board are elected officials from every city
Oh,
and the 2 counties.
okay.
So that's how they're elected officials within their city. And then their city appoints them to serve on the TPO board.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the technical coordinating committee, those are staff members of the jurisdictions. So they're staff members of the different cities, the counties. We also have people that represent the school boards that serve as well as non-voting advisors on some of those committees as well. Yes. And all of that, the membership of those are dictated in our bylaws.
Gotcha. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions for Colleen? Back to the funding authorization, reauthorization. Is there anything concerning that you're seeing? Any grant programs that are potentially getting chopped or anything like that at this point?
At this point, I don't have that information.
Okay.
Yeah. But hopefully, over the next couple of months or, and September 30th is approaching quickly. So, sometimes these bills are extended. So the current bill may be extended because as you notice, it was signed into law last time in November when it would have expired. That one would have expired that September as well.
Is there any potential changes with funding with regards to the proposed property tax
I was just thinking of
adjustments?
Not at our level because, our funding comes from a different source. It doesn't come from the property taxes. Now, where that may come into play is through some of our member government projects, if there's a local match. So right now, I think a lot of it is just we need to just wait and see what happens, but we do review our policies every year that requires, matches and whatnot. So that would probably be a conversation that we have, down the road, depending on what happens with that. But from the TPO itself, we're not funded through that method in terms of our operational, our operations. It really would impact those local governments that may have to come to the table with matching funds. And since funding for projects are increasing, those local matching funds have also been increasing over the years.
Anyone else? All righty, thank you, Colleen. We'll move on to 4A, FDOT report. Chuck,
Whatever you're comfortable with.
it's it, you can stand, your choice.
Okay. Mr. Chair, committee member. I'm Chuck Copper, and I'll be overseeing Volusia-Flagler TPO from now on, now that Kaya has moved on to a different path in her life. So I'm looking forward to it. I've been watching over Space Coast and Lake Sumter MPOs for the 3 years I've been here, and now I'm passing Lake Sumter and Calamarian that Kaya also oversaw. We'll be going over to Mr. Gene Jenkins right here, our newest liaison. So just a little restructuring. Okay, next slide. So a couple of project updates for you. First off, the I-4 truck parking projects, both the the eastbound and the westbound, are set to start with the westbound starting on September the 1st. And the eastbound is scheduled to start at October the 1st. Next slide, please.
I can't orient. Where the heck is that one?
Right in between Daytona and DeLand. I was trying to get as much as I could about the surrounding area. So
I know.
you just kind of see 92 up there, and it's approaching that bypass that comes from my.
So it's closer to
Oh, yeah, where you,
Daytona than it is to DeLand. If you remember where the old truck rest stop used to be on I-4,
yeah, apparently that's what I don't know, because it says.
it's generally in that same area.
Rest area, I thought.
It's generally in that same area.
Okay.
Generally, yes. It's closer to Daytona than it is to DeLand.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I would have went north a little more, you would see that where you take that turn off of I-4 and head over to 92. You can come off right before LPTA. Yeah, right.
Now I understand where it is.
That's gonna be trucks only.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
I'm stop and sleep like this. Okay, yeah, great. Next project, we are at the US 1 resurfacing as of July 1st. The resurfacing project has been completed and has officially received final acceptance, giving our community a smoother, safer corridor. Next slide, please.
It's kind of across from it.
As we step into August, our local children are saying goodbye to summer and heading back to school. So with this transition, our streets undergo a major shift. As we're seeing, we're transitioning into the use of the railroads from young pedestrians, students on bicycles and e-bikes, and school buses filling our routes. So this moment calls for us to slow down, stay vigilant in school zones, and obey crossing guards. And strictly honoring those flashing red lights on school bus, protecting our kids requires our complete focus. Please remember that a text message can always wait. Never drive distracted and never drive impaired. This message also aligns directly with National Stop on Red Week. Every single day across the country, motorists running red lights cause an average of 3 fatal crashes and 386 serious injury crashes. That's nationwide. A single red light violation can alter a family forever. So let's stay alert, stop on red, and protect one another. Next slide, please. And FDOT has been thrilled to be helping bring history directly into our community as part of the Governor's America 250 Florida campaign. Florida's Freedom Tour, between May and August, 2 massive 18-wheelers outfitted with state-of-the-art mobile museums traveled across all 67 Florida counties, bringing rich exhibits from the Museum of Florida History straight to our doorsteps. District 5 and 7 proudly host these units in Central Florida, connecting residents of all ages with our state vibrant heritage. And finally, the Seminole County truck parking groundbreaking took place on June 18th. It wasn't just for the Seminole County truck parking. This also was symbolic of us starting our 5 scheduled facilities across Seminole, Volusia, Osceola, and Orange counties. This initiative dramatically enhances corridor safety by offering professional drivers a dedicated place to rest. And the groundbreaking was joined with the State Secretary Jared Perdue, District 5 Secretary John Tyler, the FHWA Administrator Derek Bars, and a veteran truck driver, Miguel Sanchez, who celebrates this huge win for freight safety. And Mr. Chair, that concludes my report.
Anyone have any questions for FDOT? Pam?
Yes. A1A. The current construction activities on A1A. Specifically from Roberta Road, northbound, but, I guess all of it actually from Granada moving forward. It's been very difficult for, businesses and, homeowners to get a handle on schedule. And when I talk about schedule, I mean, I know that there's an overall start and an overall finish and what the scope of work is. But each phase of scope of work has direct impact to businesses along A1A as well as to the homeowners and neighborhoods that are either on it or behind it. So understanding, in other words, I'll just give you an example. When are they starting the sidewalk? When will they be done with the curb? You know, to get, and even so I've reached out to the project manager within FDOT, and her name escapes me right now, Debbie Copel. Yes, and it seems like not her fault, but she doesn't really have a handle on it. Like the contractor is not communicating any kind of schedule detail with FDOT. Which I find a little bit problematic for you guys as well as for the residents in the area. And then I've heard and continue to hear a number of complaints about, and maybe I shouldn't say it in front of this group, but the reduction in speed limits has increased travel time significantly for anybody that's even remotely north of I-40. So it's my understanding in discussions with FDOT that there's not anything that can be done about that because the voices on the other side of that are much louder. But do understand that there are a lot of individuals that are not happy with the increase in drive times. Yeah.
Really have feedback, appreciate it.
And and I'm sorry, one last thing. So it seems like, right, so fall of 2027 is the overarching end date that at least is being presented at this point. But in this roll forward summary report, there's also A1A north of Roberta Road to Flagler County line, the resurfacing. So if this is in this roll forward report, is that going to impact, is there going to be another change to this schedule on? Do you understand what I'm saying? It looks like either more money or more scope is moving forward in this roll forward report. So I don't, I don't understand how that connects or doesn't connect with what the scheduled completion date is.
As a separate project?
It's not clear to me. Is this just an outreach because they need more money to finish the job and that's why it's being rolled in?
It's very possible, yes.
Right, I mean, that's what I'm thinking, is that maybe they just need more money to finish it and it doesn't impact the schedule. But if this is on this piece of paper, you know, when does the money come in and is it gonna impact the overall schedule?
Oh, I see what you're.
Yeah,
Was it also extending the construction schedule? Could
exactly.
very well be, or it could just be bleeding over to the final payment, or they're just not expecting completion until.
Whatever, it just seems a little confusing.
Yes, I know.
Okay.
It'll take a while to understand.
All right, thank you.
All right. Emily?
So I have a question about the truck stops.
Mhm.
In Central Florida, many of the truck stops that are existing now
Mhm.
are far too overcrowded. So glad to see this coming. However, late at night, it's very common for so many semis to be parked alongside the entry and exit ramps of the existing truck stops with signs of no parking every couple of feet, and there may be 100 of them. Have you seen the new plans, and will there be some sort of accommodation so the truckers don't have to dangerously park exit entry ramps like they're doing now?
Yeah, that's a whole point of the project itself, and this has been studied for a couple of years now, so. Needs it all? I don't know, I can't say that, but it's gonna have,
Has changed.
yeah, it's gonna have, we're gonna get with all 5 of these parking areas, we're gonna get about 900 plus more parking spots, so. You see a reduction in all that, I have to park here, I gotta stop, kind of situation that they're running in.
So 900 more spaces for
Cool.
semis,
Yeah, on I-4 corridor,
or
yes.
5.
And
So
this will continue over to I-95.
200 more.
Yep,
Oh, that's good news.
yes, absolutely.
Very
And,
good.
yeah, so it's, hopefully it will. I've seen it. I know exactly what you're talking about. And I feel for the truck drivers. Don't have a choice. They gotta stop.
Okay, good to know. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am.
And just to add on to that a little bit too, is the truck parking that Chuck had mentioned as the groundbreaking, that's specific to the I-4 corridor. So there was a study that was done specific to I-4 that identified the lack of truck parking in that area, and that's where it came up with the need for 900 additional spaces. Because there was really only that truck stop in Longwood that had like 34 spaces, and that was it. So these groundbreakings here for the 2 sites in Volusia County, there's a site in Seminole County, there's one in Osceola, there's one in Orange. So they're spread out amongst the corridor, but those are specific to I-4. DOT's also going to be coming back and doing a study for I-95 to identify the available parking there. Now, right now, there's more parking on I-95 than there was on I-4, but I know exactly what you're talking about in St. Johns County, where they have all of those no parking right there after the truck weigh-in, or the truck rest stop. But that's just indicative of there's not enough parking for the demand on the road. So again, going back to the life cycle of projects, there will be a study that's done to identify the available parking, what's out there existing, and then where there are opportunities to add, where there's additional parking that's needed. But yes, so it's moving forward, but just moving forward at the TPO and the state pace. So.
That's great. Good to hear.
All right, any other questions for Chuck?
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Glad to be here.
I have one. There's a signal in Flagler Beach that it's the State Road 100 A1A signal. The eastbound movement is a little confusing with a green light plus a no turn on red sign that turns on and off. I was wondering who I could reach out to discuss maybe a potential modification to that signal. If you don't know off the top of your head, that's okay. I can reach out to you.
That would be, Kepler Ops,
Okay.
Deland Ops.
Okay.
But, I can find out for you exactly what it's called.
Okay, that'd be great.
All right.
Shoot you an email.
By the way, I have business cards. Right? So seems like lately, I try to hand them out and nobody wants them, so. You can come to me and get one.
Perfect. All right. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Chuck.
Mhm.
The Volusia County and Flagler County construction reports. The Flagler County report is in your packets, and the Volusia County report is in a link in the PDF. So feel free to go check that out. What we do for those, right? Yep.
Unless there's a question, then we can take it back.
According to the young ladies here, the Volusia County one is from 2024, and we keep asking but never get an update. Is there anybody that can reach higher and maybe get someone to drop something new on our laps?
We will, and we have, and we will continue. They used to provide a report similar to Flagler County,
Yeah, it's
and
like line item.
updated it every month.
Uh-huh.
However, that became a similar situation where it hadn't been updated in over a year. And so we reached out, and this is what they had provided us with at the time, and they had indicated that this link would be updated. But
Once a decade, maybe.
we'll continue to reach out and get the information.
Any other questions? Emily?
I have a question about the landscaping being phase 2 for some of these projects, for instance, ISB repaving project. It has stated that the completion would be the fall 2026. So there were some changes made to the plan that was already started for construction. So I know that delayed a little bit of the final date. But in changing the design of the road, mostly that's taking out so many hard curves that were on A1A in Daytona Beach. That changed the landscape plan significantly. So these completion dates do not include the landscape phase 2, I assume, right? Because what I had heard is they fully scrapped the first landscape plan, and now it's being redone.
Are you talking about completion dates on the FDOT report, or what are you looking at right now?
This,
Okay. Yeah, I can work with Chuck on that to see if that impacts the completion date.
okay, all right. Because
And so which page number are you on at the bottom?
I had heard that the landscape design plans won't even be finished until 2027.
So, okay, so you're talking about the State Road A1A project?
Yes.
Right, okay. While we're working on some of the information for Pam, then we'll also
Okay.
get that information as well.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else specific to the Flagler or Volusia construction updates? Alrighty, move on to staff comments. Staff comments.
I don't have anything additional to add today. Anything from your side, Pam?
Sure. Shout out to Bob Stork for coming to help us with the Deltona Summer Carnival helmet fitting. It was a great event. We fit 3 helmets. And if anybody is interested in perhaps volunteering or just coming out and keeping us company, please reach out to me. We'd love to have you.
And the kids are fantastic.
They are, the kids are.
They keep you in stitches sometimes.
What's the next opportunity?
The next opportunity is, well, we have V-Card Icebreaker coming up in September, but that's not like a kid event. Following that, let's see, just 1 second. October 21st, we have a presentation and helmet fitting at the Pearson Library. And I can provide more information on that as the time gets a little bit closer. And there may be some things that fall in before that happens.
And Pam also puts together on the back of your agenda packet upcoming events. So this all of the upcoming events, not just our meetings or whatnot, but also those events, where we do the community outreach. And she updates that every month.
Is that it for staff?
I have that page.
Great. All right, then we'll move on to CAC member comments. Anyone have any comments? Emily, go ahead.
So I would just like to thank FDOT and TPO for the emphasis on the I-4 left lane marketing of stay out of the left lane if you are not passing. I drive I-4 frequently, and it's very dangerous to have a slow driver continuing in the same left lane for miles and miles. So it's already, in my humble opinion, been very effective and great marketing, great ad to safety.
Any other comments? Nope. All righty. I think that is it. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Approved to adjourn.